Bill. Once again, for you fans here at Tommy Evans Lounge, welcome to Media Day 2013-14, brought to you by the Wentz Financial Group. Right now, it's time to talk men's basketball. It's my pleasure to introduce our head table. Beginning his 16th season as head coach of the Zips, which is strange for me because I remember when he was a student here trying to get to class on time. Head coach Keith Dambrot. Also, welcome senior forward Demetrius Tree Treadwell, senior guard forward Quincy Diggs, sophomore wing Jake Kretsch. Let's have a hand for these guys as they get ready for the 2013-14 season. I'll turn it over to Coach Dambrot for some opening comments. Coach?
Well, Joe, thanks so much for making me older than I am. 16 seasons, Joe.
Amazing.
Not really, Joe. 10 years as a head coach. This is 10, Joe.
16th season as a head coach. 10th season here at the university.
Did you take that wrong, Frenchie? You looked at me funny. You knew what he meant. I'm always trying to educate these radio announcers. It's a very tough task. Stand up, Frenchie. It's the first I ever saw you in a sport jacket. First off, I'd like to thank Bud Wentz and his financial group for the continued support. Bud, why don't you stand up? He's done a terrific job of really supporting our program in the university, and we're very proud of the relationship that we have. And then all the other booster people and donors that have really helped our program, we really, really appreciate all that you have done. So thank you very, very much. I don't get a chance to do that very often, so I think it's the appropriate time to do that. We're looking forward to the season. We've kind of built this program on no excuses and very high expectations, so we have that same approach this year. A lot of people say, well, you lost this, you lost that, you play a good schedule, you got inexperienced this and that and whatever, and none of that really matters to me, because really all we try to do is we just basically change the uniforms out every year, and different guys come and different guys perform, and they're all good players. So we're proud of where the program is at this moment, but we feel like we can go even further and be better and better and better. So for guys like Harvey Glover and Leonard Paul and Carl Schwarzinger, we play for you every single night, and all the players that built this program, so we thank you also.
Thank you, Coach. We're going to open up, as we did with the women's basketball program, to the media first, and then fans that are here in attendance. So media, if you have some questions, just raise your hand. We have some people here with some microphones. We'll make sure everybody hears the questions.
I just wanted to ask Demetrius what it's like to have your face plastered all over Akron.
So it's a really good feeling, a really good honor.
What was it like when you first saw it?
Kind of amazed. I mean, when I saw it, I was like, that's me.
Coach, how did you feel about Demetrius' face all over Akron?
No comment.
Are you ready for the pressure that comes with it?
I really don't feel like there's no pressure besides handling myself day in and day out and being the best person I can be.
Quincy, you're back after a year away. How do you kind of use that year away to improve your game and just to improve overall?
It was a long time, so a year felt like 10 years, but I'm blessed to be back, and I had a lot of thinking to do, and I think I'm ready to perform this year as well.
Coach, you mentioned the schedule, and you don't really think about schedule, but this year's schedule, you've got a tough one coming up. I mean, and we've talked about this every year about because of the at-large bids at the end of the year in case you don't win the MAC tournament. Does that thinking go into making this schedule that we're looking at?
Well, if you look at our schedule over the last couple of years, 2 years ago we had the 69th best out-of-conference schedule in the country. And last year we had the 59th best out-of-conference schedule in the country. And no one else in our league was in the top 100. So when a school gives you as long a contract as I have, that allows you to play the best people. And when you have as good a program as we have, then that's what you should do. So, you know, we've got 4 very difficult road games in Middle Tennessee, St. Mary's, Cleveland State, and South Carolina. And then we have 4 very difficult home games in Marshall, Oral Roberts, Coastal Carolina, and I forget who else. Who am I missing? Detroit. And then we go to Hawaii and we play, we play Oregon State. If we win, we play Iowa State. And all the teams there are good, including Boise State, George Mason. Those are very good teams. So we've got our hands full, and we've really hit our guys with, hey, we got to be better early than we've ever been, because we've been pretty bad early. And we really have to do a good job of getting ourselves ready to play earlier.
2 questions, Coach. First, on that tip-off, the ESPN thing. Talk about that and that game and just kind of how that fits into what's happening. And 2, for players and for coaches, the talk is they're going to be different. They're going to be different. Can all of you maybe address how do you feel the team is going to be different this year than in the past?
Well, the second question is a really good question. The first question is, the first question was good too. It's better than most of your questions. But the first question, we went to Puerto Rico, which is an ESPN tournament, and we shoved our way into that. We begged, right? And it's important for your program because you're on TV and you play against good competition on neutral courts. And we begged ESPN again, and we got into Hawaii, which was a big deal. And then ESPN came to us and said, would you go to St. Mary's to play in the 24 hours of hoop at 12 their time? And I said, well, I go to bed at 9, so that's 3 in the morning. So and I said, well, I guess. So that's not an easy game, and it's a terrible travel game. But they also put us in Charleston next year, so sometimes you have to give a little bit to get a little bit, and that's why we did it. And then the second question is, yeah, we're different. I mean, I don't think we have anybody that's going to block shots like Zeke Marshall, although Pat Forsythe will do a good job there. But we're still big and strong, and we're bigger and stronger than most. And we're better in other areas. So everybody on our team is a better player than they were last year. So, are we going to miss the Zeke Marshalls and the Alex Abreu's and the Chauncey Gilliams and Brian Walsh? Yes, but that's no excuse.
Any other questions from the media? Tree, can you talk about your experience? You went overseas this summer, got selected. How did that experience kind of affect you? First time out of the country for you, and how was that?
It was a really great experience. Yes, it was my first time outside of the country. It was wonderful to see a different lifestyle and to see how people live differently over there. It made me really appreciate some of the things we have here, and in which some of the things were different. Like I had experience going to the concentration camp, and that whole experience kind of hit home. It just like it really had me thinking about a lot of things with the whole Hitler deal. Like it really made me think. Like I was wild just to see some of the rooms and stuff that they had. Some of the people in the torture chambers and the gas chambers and stuff. It was a real eye-opening experience.
Any questions from the fans that are in attendance today? Yes, John?
Back to the St. Mary's game, what kind of preparations can the coaching staff make for that 3 a.m. tip-off?
Well, Tree should feel right at home. John, maybe I'm old school or maybe I'm old-fashioned. I don't know, but I really don't think about things like that. Like even with the rule changes, I'm on the rules committee. The only thing we're doing differently is we're not taking the charge because they're not calling charges anymore, but we don't take the charge anyway, so that's not much of an adjustment for us. As far as the hand checks, I don't even worry about it. I'm just going to coach the same way I've always coached and feel like that we're smart enough to make adjustments. So same thing with the 3 o'clock time. I'll have to be up late one night. And I'll probably be grouchier than ever. So if I don't get a technical in that game, I probably won't ever get one.
Coach, you have a question from Lindsay Miller on Twitter. How has Camelo Betancourt improved from year 1 to year 2?
He's improved. I think last year he really didn't play the year before he came here, so he was a little bit rusty. I think the biggest thing is he's put a lot of time into the gym, spent a lot of time in the gym. The biggest thing with him is just self-belief. He's got enough ability to be a good player. He just has to believe in himself.
Any other questions from the fans in attendance? Yes, Carl.
Yeah, what are your expectations from the newcomers?
That's a really good question. I think all 5 of our new guys are good players. The hard part is we have 8 guys back. With all those good players we lost, we still have 8 very good players. When you consider these 3 here, and then Reggie McAdams, Pat Forsyth, DG Ibatayu, they've all played. You know, so probably the biggest area where we're going to have to use those guys is obviously Niles Evans is going to play some at the point. And then the center position, we could go anywhere from 2 guys playing that position and playing Tree there, or we could play both freshmen behind Pat Forsyth. Some guys are soft, Carl, you know that. So, you know, we may use that 3-headed monster, even 4-headed monster at the center position. But it's better than what we used to have before. Like, we've got wing guys that are 6'6", 6'7" now. Before, we used to have 3 guards that were under 6 foot. So we're in good position when it comes to that. We have 13 guys that can all play. So I don't know if they're great, but they're all going to be good players.
Checking out the magazines, you've seen a lot of different names up at the top of some of these mags on teams that are picked on both divisions. Buffalo and Toledo and whatever. Just kind of talk about that a little bit, maybe the league.
The question was in the magazines, you know, the experts, they all pick different people to win the league, and people are talking about Buffalo, they're talking about Toledo, and they're thinking people like Kent State, Ohio, maybe even us are going to step back a little bit. So the way I operate is, look, since I've been the coach, Kent State and Ohio has always been pretty good. So until somebody else is better than them, I still think they're going to be pretty good. And, you know, I think Toledo's got good players. It'll be interesting to see how it all gels. I mean, this is a game of chemistry. And it's not always about individual talent. You have to have good talent, but you also have to have good, rare chemistry.
How's your chemistry right now?
Better than most years. You know, we're usually dysfunctional at this time of the year. So if you come in, don't be surprised what you see. Anything's possible. Right, Rabs? I noticed you haven't been around much lately. You must be a little sick of it, huh? No. So we have good chemistry. We brought in Doc Carr already, and I use that term rare. That's kind of our saying this year. And in order to be rare, that means you got to be one of the best teams in the country. You have to have good relationships as a team. You have to accept challenges, right? You what's the third one? Recover from mistakes. And then you have to execute what the coach tells you. So that's kind of our motto. And we have to be at a 5 scale in order to do that. So today we were, 3.5? And that's not going to win us what we want to win. So we need to be at a 5 scale in all areas. And we've worked hard on that relationship part, because every team has issues, whether you think they do or they don't. You know, somebody may want to shoot the ball at the end of the game. Somebody may want to be in at the end of the game. But every team has to make sacrifices if they're going to be successful.
Jay, can you talk about your first year at Division I basketball, what you learned last year, and how that's going to make you a better player this year?
Coming in last year, it was a really tough year for me in the beginning, especially defensively. I felt like I picked up a lot throughout the year and just kept getting better and better and better. You know, I got to go to Puerto Rico. That was awesome. Got to start in the NCAA tournament. It was an unbelievable experience for me last year. And coming into this year, I'm just going to take everything that I learned from last year and plug it in this year and try to become an even better player this year.
Physically, how do you feel right now? I know there's been a problem or two.
Yeah, with my back, I had a herniated disc and I was out for 2 months. I think my first practice was last Tuesday. Those 2 months were the longest months I've ever spent, just not being on the court. Once I finally was able to, I was in the gym like in the morning before practice. It's just like you really realize how much you love basketball when it's finally taken from you. But right now, I feel great. I got some shots in me, and I feel great right now. So.
Any other questions from fans? Yes, in front.
Keith, how is Demetrius better than he was last year? And have you started talking about the next level with him at all?
We talk about it every day, really. You know, the biggest thing that Tree and I talk about is at some point a habit's going to catch you if you don't do it correctly. So what we're working on is every day we're trying to improve his skill level, which he's done a good job of. But that's really not what he is. That skill level is great, but he's a junkyard dog. So he's still got to be the toughest, meanest, nastiest, lead the nation in rebounding, be the best defender, and not forget what he is. So, you know, what we're trying to work on with him is being more coachable at all times, being more level, as Jake would say, and then, you know, trying to become a better leader. So from his first year here to now, I can't tell you how proud I am of him as to, you know, just the how far he's come, but he's got a lot more room to develop, and we're holding him to a very high standard also. That's one of the things we try to do is hold guys to a high standard when they're ready to be held to that standard. And we feel like he's ready to be held to that standard.
Have you had NBA people talk to you about him? People inquired?
Well, not really. I mean, but nobody called me about Zeke either, so maybe they just don't call the head coach anymore. I don't know. But, you know, one thing at a time. You know, we tell our guys that all the time, one play at a time and one thing at a time. So if he does what he's supposed to do, he'll have opportunities.
Leonard?
Yeah, one comment right quick. To Q, I'm proud of you, man. What you went through to get back here probably will serve you good the rest of your life. You can quit. Coach, people forget that last game did not define our season last year. It's what led us to Auburn Hills that defined our season. And whatever you did, I hope you bottled it. Because I realized what you were facing when we lost Alex. With no time to adjust, and you went on and won the match. So whatever, however you can get them guys back in that frame of mind, that's our goal. Because we know we can do anything. And you and I both know that the sky's the limit. We don't care about no schedule. It's what these guys do every day here downstairs that's going to dictate the outcome of the schedule, not my opponent. It's my guys sitting at that table and they tell me and what they do in practice. And what you get out of them is going to determine our season. Give me I don't care if I play 25 number ones. If I'm prepared, I can deal with it one game at a time.
Well, I agree with you, Leonard. I think you have to have what I call humbled arrogance. Right? You have to be arrogant as hell. You got to think you're good, right? But you got to be humble and know that if you don't work hard, you can lose to anybody. So I think that's the biggest thing is we believe we can win. I mean, you really, like, I don't even worry about that VCU game. I mean, we played under the worst circumstances you could we had, besides Alex, we didn't have Walsh, Pat Forsythe, or DG. So, like, we were playing with not a team good enough to win, really, right? No excuse, but we could have played 100 times and never won probably, right? It was just one of those deals. But we knew that had everything gone right now, we could have played with anybody in the country. So we feel the same way this year.
Mr. Quincy, after missing a year, physically, number one, how do you feel? And do you feel that you're in game shape and ready to go as soon as the season starts?
Physically wise, it took some time to get back. I lost 20 pounds of muscle, you know, so that was hard gaining back, but I think I'm there physically. Shape-wise, I don't know yet. We're going to have to see against the first game. I forgot how the E1 is a very different pace of basketball. So
you mean in the YMCA?
So it's going to take. I just got to see after the first game how I feel and how the level goes.
With that in mind,
I think, let me add on to this. So I'm really proud of Q too. I think he paid for 18 credit hours on his own, went to another school to get eligible, worked to be able to pay his bills. He made every sacrifice he had to get back here. So I'm not satisfied until he gets what he deserves at the end of this year, and he's capable of it. Physically, he's one of the best players I've ever had. He just has to make sure that he pays attention to details. And I think you're going to see even a better player than we've ever seen before, because you're going to see a player with a chip on his shoulder and a guy that's improved in all areas. So I'd be careful. I'm just going to put my warning out there for the opponents of the Zips. I'd be careful when you play against him now.
Coach, with that in mind, when we see Quincy at the 2, the 3, or the point sometimes?
Well, we're going to play him at the 2 to start. We've got a lot of good wing players, so you'll see him some at the point, but he's a guy that can make other players better, and there's very few people around the country that can do that.
Mike, I think Mike Minier has a question.
Yeah, Coach, we talked about depth now, but you're deep at all the different spots, becoming deeper and deep point guard, wing players, inside players. Explain to or talk to us a little bit about what that now allows you to do, because that presents a lot of different scouting things for your opponents. Maybe some of the different things you could do now, extended defense or what have you, as compared to past years.
Well, we felt like we've been fairly deep, Mike, in the past. But I do think this year's team is a little bit different in that, you know, we've got 3 guys 6'9" and above inside. You know, the one guy is an absolute monster. Big Dog is about 6'10", 305, and really has a good feel as to how to play. So he gives us a guy that we can play through a little bit offensively. He's very good offensively. And then Pat Forsythe has taken a big jump. Pat's a guy that just needs to believe in himself. He's played very well. And then Quan Cheatham behind them is a 6'9" guy that can shoot the ball from the perimeter. So that gives you 3 guys, and then you got the monster at the power forward here, and Nick Harney, who's a gifted guy that in my mind has underachieved a little bit to this point, but still is one of the better players in the league. So if Nick plays to his capabilities, now you've got some big, strong, athletic guys. And then the key for us is who's going to run the engine. You know, are we going to be good enough running the engine? You know, are those young guys at the point guard position in Q, can they play fast? Can they play slow? Can they understand situations? And because Abreu did that in his sleep. You know, he just had a knack, terrific feel for the game. So that's going to take a little bit of getting used to and patience from all of us, really. And really, it's a challenge coaching. We have to coach those guys into being better players. Carl.
Yeah, first of all, comment, how about the eloquence of Leonard Paul and Harvey Glover? But my question to you is, we've talked
now
about...
we got to get to you.
Can't match up to that. We've talked a lot about offense. Where does this team stack up defensively, especially with the running game?
Well, we built a whole program on defense, as you know, not much different than when you played here, right? Your whole program was built at the defensive end. So our guys know that if they don't guard people, they don't play. So we have a few little things that we have to get better at. We have to be in better position because Zeke cleaned us up last year, right? If we made a mistake, we still had that big eraser at the rim that saved us a little bit. So we have to play better position defense. We have to be tougher. We have to be able to pressure the ball a little bit better. I think that's one thing. Abreu was in such poor condition sometimes last year that we couldn't really get much out of him pressuring the ball, and we kind of built our defense outside in. So I think between Niles, Carmelo, and Q, and even Nick Harney and Tree, we can go out there and really keep constant pressure on the team so we can be better on the perimeter defensively. And then we've talked to our bigger guys that, look, we need to be able to shot block and contest shots around the rim because we lost a big part of our defense with Zeke Marshall.
I want to change it just a little bit. Even though the soccer team was the first to bring home the championship nationally, my expectations to the premier program on campus, this basketball team, to do the same. I just want you guys to know how much we appreciate you and all that you've done.
Well, thanks, Harvey. As you know, I'm very proud of that soccer team, too. And I have a vested interest in that soccer team. And what they did is amazing. And if we could do the same thing, that would be even more amazing because it's It's hard, right? But it's going to happen. Somebody at our level is going to win the national championship because that gap has closed. It's not a huge gap anymore. So we're big enough, we're strong enough. Now we got to be smart enough and tough enough in order to do that. So with that being said, we could do that, or we could be average. It's all going to depend on how badly we want to be great and how we handle adversity and how we handle prosperity. Because both of those are difficult. The prosperity part's difficult too, right? Because what happens is guys get prosperity drunk and they think they've arrived, and pretty soon they get hit in the mouth. So, you know, we did some great things last year. We won 19 games in a row, which has never been done here. We were in the top 25, but that kind of just whet my appetite. Like for an old guy, man, I still want more than that, right? So do you. So we're going to try to do that.
We have about 5 minutes left before we turn it over to Steve French. Coach, you mentioned Big Dog. That, of course, is Isaiah Johnson. Question, was he Big Dog before he got here, and who gave him the nickname Big Dog?
I think that was his nickname. Funny story, he came to orientation. I said, Big Dog, you look like you've slimmed down a little bit. He said, yeah, Coach, I have. So I put him on the scale. He was 315. I said, damn, how big were you when we recruited you? 375 or what? But we were very fortunate to get Big Dog. He broke his foot before July. He had an offer from Xavier, and he broke his foot before July. And as you know, sometimes guys like him can put on 20 pounds like that. And he came out in July, and he didn't play very well. And we hung in there with him. And his high school coach played for me at Ashland, was an All-American for me, Ricardo Hill, and he helped us. So we're thankful for that, because those big guys, they don't grow on trees now. They're hard to get. And had Big Dog and Quan Cheatham been at a prep school this year, they'd be playing in the Big East. That's how big and strong they are. So are they ready to play for us? They still have a ways to go, but they're talented guys. And don't try to call him anything else but Big Dog, because he likes Big Dog. And when you're 6'10", 305, you can call him anything he wants.
Final chance for fans or media to ask a question to Coach Dambrot or any of our players up here.
The last thing before, okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was actually going to ask Demetrius. Coach talked a little bit about Zeke Marshall not being here. How different is it for you now? He was your guy in the front court last year. He's your mate. How different is it for you this year defensively without him behind you?
It's not different at all. I mean, it is different, but it's not, because we still playing by the same defensive principles: pressure the ball, get after it, and box out and clean up the glass afterwards. So it's pretty much the same thing. Just might have to play a little bit harder this year on defense, like pressuring the ball and guarding the ball.
I just want to make a comment that I've known Q since he was a freshman, and he is a man. He's not a boy anymore. He has grown up, and I'm really impressed with his maturity and his leadership. And he's opening his mouth out there on the floor, which is very, very good.
Appreciate you.
The last thing, look, as someone that went to this university, whose mother was a professor here, the challenge for our community is, look, we need to get behind this university. And that's not only coming to games, men's, women's, all games. That's not only donating money. That's sending your children here. Look, this is a good school, and we have some enrollment issues, and we need everybody's help. And listen, my 2 children come to school here. I went here, and you can get there from here, right? As the old days they used to say. So we need you when you start to decide where to send your grandkids and your nephews and you need to look at this school, because it's a great place.
I think that's a perfect way to end, and let's send another hand for our men's basketball team as they get set for the 2013-14 season. Again, our thanks to Keith Dambrot, Demetrius Treadwell, Quincy Diggs, and Jake Kretzer. Right now, let's turn it back over to Steve French.